Okay, we're going to start factoring here. That's our objective. Factor polynomials by removing the greatest common factor. So let's review real quick. What is a GCF? And we talked on it the last assignment there. And GCF, remember, is a common term, something that at least two terms share. So number one, you have 5x squared and 3x. Well, the only thing that's in common, the only thing that's in common is 1x. Because if you look at the numbers 3 and 5, there's no other term factor other than 1 in itself. So 1x is your GCF here. Number 2, 8 and 12. If you're only looking at the numbers, the GCF is 8 and 12. And if you need to list out all your factors, do it. If you can do it in your head, great. If you can't, list them out. So I've forgotten how to find the GCF, so I'm going to list out all my factors and see if I can come up with one that's the largest one. All my factors are 12, all my factors of 8, and I clearly see now that 4 is the largest one in common, but that's not all. We have how many n's that share that are in common in both terms. We have one n that's in both of these terms. So my GCF for number 2 would be 4 times n. Taking a look now at number 3. Take a look at number 3. Well, they all share at least one y. So I know that my GCF will have one y in it. But numerically, 2, 4, and 6, here's a clue. If the lowest number can fit into the other two numbers, then that will be your GCF. Alright, let's move on to factoring. Factor using the GCF. So what we will actually start doing here is taking that greatest common factor and dividing it out of an expression. So what's that look like? Take a look at number 1. We have m squared plus 5m. The directions are factor using the GCF. Well, the first things first, you got to find the GCF. What's the GCF of m squared and 5m? M squared and 5m. What's the GCF here? Well, this term has 2 m's in it, and that's all. This one has 5 m's, so the only thing in common is 1m. So the way you will write this is the GCF out in front, and then I want you to draw this parenthesis, this left parenthesis. And what we're going to end up doing is we will start dividing both of these terms by your GCF. Okay. So if I have m squared divided by m, that term goes here. If I divide 5m by my GCF, which is m, I have plus 5. That's it. There it is. Let's try another one. Keep doing some more examples. 14x squared plus 7x. Factor using the GCF. We're going to divide out a common term. Well, what is the GCF? Let's find this common term. Numerically speaking, 14 and 7. 7. X squared and x. X. So what we will do is we will take 7x and divide it by both of these terms. So 14x squared divided by 7x, we're pulling it out. We're pulling out the 7x. So we get 2x. And if I divide this by my GCF, I get anything divided by itself is 1. Once you understand how to do this, it clicks. I understand that this is difficult for some, but don't give up. Stay with it. Let's try number 3. 6y squared minus 9y squared. GCF, what is it? The GCF in this example is 3y squared. let's divide both of these now by 3y squared. This first term will go in the front. 6y squared divided by 3y squared is 3 because the y is reduced to 1. Minus 9y squared divided by 3y squared equals minus 3. Let's see here. Oops, I made a mistake, didn't I? Let's go back and check this out. 6 divided by 3 is 2, I suppose. Alright. And we have minus 9y squared is 3y squared. And we're done. If you wanted, and I prefer you do, we will simplify this 2 minus 3 on the inside to make it 3y squared times, what's 2 minus 3? It's negative 1. Okay. So what it actually becomes is negative 3y squared. In the beginning, couldn't we just notice that we have y squared and y squared? These are like terms. These are like terms. We could have just multiplied, or subtracted them from the get-go to make them 3y squared. So we tricked you guys. And I even tricked myself for that matter. Anyways, moving on. Continuing on with this idea of factoring out a GCF. Finding the GCF of number 4. Take a look, pause the video, try to figure out what the GCF is. You should come to a conclusion that the GCF is 4. There are no z's in all 3 terms, so I can't take a z with me. I could only divide by 4. And what I will end up with is z squared, divide this one by 4, plus 5z, and this one by 4, plus 2. Last one. What's my GCF? Numerically, 3. Variable, 1t. Why only 1? Well, because there's at least 1t in all 3 items. So let's factor out a 3t from this term, this first term. 3t cubed divided by 3t is t squared. Okay, t squared. Middle term divided by 3t. You have negative 6 over 3. So you will have a number here. We'll have minus 2. 2 t's on top, 1 t on the bottom will reduce to 1. And if I take a 3t from 9t, I'm left with the number 3. And we're done.